Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Dabo Swinney, the Clemson Tigers, working their way through fall camp. And, I've kind of decided on this Monday morning that we're going to be talking about Clemson from here until the end of 2025 with a national championship caliber lens. What I mean by that is as we're getting nitty gritty and talking about these different football players and these different position groups, we're going to be asking ourselves, look, is it national championship caliber? What I mean by that is, look, we know this football team's going to be good in 2025. We have a dang good feeling they're going to be a college football playoff team in 2025. The expectations within the program, the expectations within the fan base is that this group has the opportunity to be special. This group has the opportunity to be the best college football team in the country in 2025. That's how we're going to talk about this football team. You're hearing some really intriguing things coming out of fall camp, most notably Adam Randall, legit running back one for Clemson going into 2025. Look, the Clemson fans who've been rocking with the boys for a while know that I was excited about Adam Randall's position change, but I also had a fair share of skepticism. And my skepticism had nothing to do with the athletic ability that Adam Randall brings. I mean, we're talking 6'3", we're talking 235, we're talking 10'9" in the 100-meter dash from a size speed profile. I mean, Adam Randall has the opportunity to be great at whatever position he decided to play going into 2025. I think there were some durability questions. And what I mean by that is, look, Adam Randall, the reason he's probably not reached his potential at Clemson during the early parts of his career were the injuries that he suffered. I mean, if you're getting banged up at wide receiver, are you going to be able to make it a full season at running back? That was certainly the first question I had. I think the second was, well, hey, what's he look like as a ball carrier? Between the tackles, running behind his pads, can he run with the adequate physicality that is necessary to play running back at the power four level? Look, as the days go on, those question marks are starting to subside a lot. We're hearing all the right things from Adam Randall. I would say, hey, go look at some of the clips from this kid during fall camp. He looks like there's a lot more feel for him at the running back position. You go back to spring and say it looked like a wide receiver that was getting the football out of the backfield. There wasn't a ton of comfortability in terms of what he was doing running the football as a running back. That has changed going into fall camp. We're hearing that from the staff as well. That should excite a lot of Clemson fans because we don't have a ton of question marks about Clemson going into 2025. What that running back room is going to look like is certainly the biggest one we have. We're going to start with Adam Randall. Talk about what it might look like if Adam Randall becomes a real weapon for Clemson in the running back room. We got a few freshmen that are making some noise, so to speak. We got a couple of guys that seem to be taking a step going into 2025. We got a lot to talk about. Before we do, and as always, just want to say thank you to you guys and to the Clemson fans. It's been really fun talking this football team. It's going to be very fun talking this team. The amount of support y'all have shown the boys has been amazing. Appreciate you guys. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Without further ado, we got to start with the storyline of fall camp thus far, and that is Adam Randall, running back one in the offense. And I want to be very, very clear. I am in no way counting out Gideon Davidson. And look, it might take half of the 2025 season for Gideon Davidson to get his legs under him. I would be stunned if Gideon Davidson does not play a very large role in this running back room in 2025. But the Adam Randall reality is becoming a little bit more real. I wasn't sure how real I thought it was going to be in spring. It's becoming real going into fall camp. What might it look like? There's two things that excite me the most. One, the explosiveness in the rushing attack. I love Phil Maffa, was a massive Phil Maffa fan in 2024, especially before he got dinged up, was one of the better running backs in the country. Didn't provide a ton of juice at the second level, was much more of I'm going to run behind my pads and I'm going to be a bruising running back between the tackles. Didn't give you a ton of breakaway ability. Adam Randall does. And he's a guy that has the speed to legitimately run by defensive backs at the second level. That was something that we didn't have a ton about in 2024. We had it a little bit with Will Shipley going back to 2023, but we didn't have a ton of breakaway ability in 2024. With how good I think this offensive line can be, with the ability in my mind for this offensive line to spring a running back like Adam Randall to the second level. Adam Randall providing a little bit more home run hitting ability, that is something that excites me. Secondly, what this kid can do as a pass catcher, do not forget. I mean, he's been a wide receiver for the last 3 years at Clemson. What linebacker is going to be running with Adam Randall out of the backfield? This just gives you another dimension in terms of how you can attack an opposing defense. As if Clemson didn't have enough matchup nightmares on the outside between TJ Moore, Brian Wesco, Antonio Williams, you're going to have one out of the backfield. When Clemson has had that kind of running back, go back to Will Shipley. And Clemson will use their running backs out of the backfield. And I think if Adam Randall becomes that running back one in this Clemson offense, you're going to see him out of the backfield, and he is going to be a matchup nightmare for whoever's covering Adam Randall coming out of the backfield. That's something that should excite Clemson fans a lot too. There's a lot of different ways you can use Adam Randall to attack an opposing defense, especially out of the backfield. Number two, this offensive line is deep, and that number is getting to about 9 or 10 guys that they trust to play. And it's a interesting dynamic where you have a lot of veteran talent, but you also got a lot of young guys that are pushing. You talk about Elijah Thurman going into year 2, talk about Braden Jacobs as a freshman that we think can play and help Clemson in 2025. This is the question we have for the offensive line. Going back to how we opened this episode, I know it's going to be good. They have way too much talent. They have way too much experience for this offense and depth. They have way too much of all of that to have this offensive line be a problem. My biggest question mark is, can it be a weapon when you play the best teams in the country? You look at LSU's defensive line, that week 1 matchup, LSU has done a great job with their defensive line. Can Clemson lean on their offensive line to be a weapon in that football game? Can they lean on their offensive line to be a weapon against a team like Georgia in the college football playoffs, against a team like Texas, Ohio State? That's the question mark I have about this team in fall camp, or this unit in fall camp. I think they got all the ingredients. A lead offensive line coach in Matt Luke, a lot of veterans that have played a lot of football, and they also have a lot of young talent that arguably might offer a higher ceiling. I mean, I look at Elijah Thurman and I look at Braden Jacobs. Those are probably some of the more talented offensive linemen on this roster. Can they provide a little bit of a ceiling for Clemson on the offensive line? That's something that excites me. And the last thing I'll say here is Brian Wesco taking a year 2 step. He was awesome as a true freshman, but he was, I think it's fair to say, a little one-dimensional. Now, Brian Wesco was a big, long kid that could run really, really fast in a straight line and provided that explosive verticality, or I should say, he provided that explosive vertical threat to this Clemson passing attack that they didn't have in 2023. He's going to provide that same skill set in 2025. Ain't no question mark about that. My question for Brian Wesco, can it be a little bit more? Last year he was pretty much a one-trick pony. Big, long, fast. I'm going to run straight down the football field, and we're going to provide some explosive plays. He averaged 17.2 yards per catch. He only had a 55% completion percentage when targeted. So that kind of tells you we're throwing Brian Wesco a lot of go balls and hoping for the best. He's put on a lot of weight. He's up to 191 pounds. Can he become a little bit more of a multi-dimensional pass catcher for Clemson in 2025? Can we ask him to do a little bit more than just stretch the field vertically? We know he can do that. He's going to do that in 2025. Can he add a little bit more to his game going into the 2025 year? This wide receiver room has the opportunity to be top 3, maybe even top 1 in the country in 2025. You got a lot of different kind of skill sets. You got a lot of young talent looking to take that step going into year 2. Brian Wesco being one of them. To the defensive line, and this is a storyline that I really do think we need to dive into more. We know the defensive line is going to be good. How good will they be? Because when you go back to that question we asked at the start of this episode, and that is national championship level. Go look at the teams that have won national championships the last 5 years. Ohio State, dominant defensive line. Nobody talked about it enough. That was one of the best, if not the best, defensive line in the country. Michigan in 2023, dominant, best defensive line in the country. Georgia in 2022, Georgia in 2021. We all remember the defensive lines that they were trotting out during those years. Dominant, best defensive lines in the country. Clemson has the opportunity to be the best defensive line in the country. And it's not only because of TJ Parker and Peter Woods. Like, I'm looking at DeMonte Capart, say, can he string together one of his only healthy seasons at Clemson, become the player we know he can be? What about Will Hell on the other side? What about freshman Amari Adams, Tefilin Green, Vic Burley? He's a guy that's generating a lot of buzz as well. When you talk about dominant defensive line play, it doesn't only have to do with your starters. It has to do with the 2 and 3 deep as well. Do we have enough players that we can rotate in who can dominate football games? That's the standard. That's what Clemson's looking for. And I would say this, you're hearing all the right things. You're hearing all the right things from Amari Adams. You're hearing all the right things from Vic Burley, finally healthy and kind of realizing his potential. I think Stefilin Green's probably one of the most underrated football players on this Clemson roster. We know they have the top end talent, but it sounds like the depth is coming along for this program as well. And then lastly, the secondary pieces are kind of coming together. Jaden Lucas, in a non-contact jersey once again, and I don't know what we'll see of Jaden Lucas, and it has nothing to do with his athletic ability. Like, when he's out on the football field and healthy, we all know what he can be, but he's just not been healthy once during his time at Clemson. You're hearing good things about Cleo Barnes. You're hearing good things about Shelton Lewis. You're hearing good things about Ricardo Jones. We're starting to figure out what that secondary is going to look like, and I think it can be really good. And if you have a dominant defensive line in front of that secondary, takes a lot of pressure off the secondary unit going into 2025. You got freshmen emerging. You got guys taking steps. You got Adam Randall emerging at the running back position. We're starting to hear all the right things about Clemson during fall camp, the things that we needed to hear to kind of check the last remaining boxes of a national championship caliber team. We'll close it out there. Appreciate you guys rocking with it. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel, and we'll talk to y'all later. Peace.